regular cycle of sleep. So making sure that you are getting up at the same time and going to bed at the same time will support your body in that. If we're staying up too late, it's kind of messing with your body's cycles. You know, from a cortisol, stressy hormone point of view. So you're really wanting to have a nice ritual and routine at bedtime. So log off, switch off that phone. Don't have your phone in your bedroom. You know, use an alarm clock. Take that time. You mentioned on your days off that you've been reading.
Yeah.
So do that. You know, make it a priority. Make that downtime a priority. You know, I think if we don't have time to read or take half an hour wind down before bed, there's something far wrong. There's something out of balance. Taking a bath, making sure your room's nice and cool. Using things such as essential oils. You could be using that to support your sleep pattern.
Say about essential oils, is there anything that would help sort of that's good for sleep? Essential oils?
Yeah, so I mean, traditionally, you know, you kind of see all these things everywhere. Lavender is very, very popular for sleep. Some people can't stand the smell of lavender. So things like cedarwood is a really, really beautiful one, and good for anxiety as well. And overwhelm. Cedarwood is great for sleep, and it's got that more kind of masculine, woody, grounding smell. So yeah, you could use things like that, making sure that, you know, you're not having caffeine after lunchtime if sleep is an issue for you. If sleep, my clients, when they're working with me, they're not allowed caffeine at all. But, you know, if you are a coffee or tea drinker, you know, try go decaf, especially if you're having issues with your sleep, because, you know, it really is a stimulant to the body. And you want to reduce all that stimulation at this point in time when you're already maybe feeling overwhelmed and stressed.
Sounds good. Now, somebody had posted a question earlier on. I'm just going to look it up quickly. But if anybody else has got a question, please post them.
And I think whilst you're looking at that, you know, it's really important for people to recognize when they maybe are, you know, before you get to the point of feeling completely burnt out and stressed, what signs are going on for you already. So stress tends to present itself in three forms, so physical, mental, and emotional. Most people don't do anything about it until it gets to the emotional. Okay, so your physical could be things like IBS or tension headaches or migraines or, you know, tight shoulders or, you know, eczema or all sorts of different things. And then mental, which, you know, things that we've been speaking about, you know, kind of easily distracted, struggling making decisions, memory loss, that type of thing. And then it gets to the emotional, which is things like feeling teary, angry, emotional outbursts, you know, or feeling the opposite, you know, really wanting to hide and recoil away from things. So it's recognizing throughout the way that actually there's maybe some signs and clues there already. So your disturbed sleep, for example, not picking on you, Susan, but I can't see anyone else.
No, that's okay.
So, you know, things like disturbed sleep, for example. Sorry, my dog's just started barking. See, this is the joys of working from home.
Yes. And we got a puppy just before lockdown, so
Yeah. So yeah, totally. There you go. Easily distracted. So yeah, you get to that mental point where there's that kind of fogginess or whatever, and then the emotional. That tends to be when most of my clients come to me once they've exhausted all the physical ailments and the mental side of things, and it's not till we're at that emotional state. But, you know, put things in place before it gets to that. You know, great that you took that time off work, for example. You know, take a day off. These are, you know, challenging times on so many levels. You know, working with technology, working with dogs barking, working with children. Never work with children and animals and all that. But, you know, using our computers and things it's a lot more challenging for us mentally. You know, I think body language wise, the cues are like 93% in some studies, I think, you know, are clues are picked up through body language, and we're missing that element. So our brain is working really hard to figure out what people are saying. You know, we don't have that same eye contact, we don't have that same body language, so it can be quite tiring communicating with people in an online format as well. So it's recognizing that as well, that it's mentally exhausting, you know, on a subconscious level, without even all the other technical aspects and things to manage.
So somebody said, how do you prioritize yourself without neglecting loved ones too much? Only so much time in the day.
Okay, so this is an area that I personally, as I said, I at one point ended up chronically ill and bedridden because I was prioritizing everybody else over myself. Okay, and I had that whole guilt of not giving them enough time. It's about setting clear and loving boundaries, and you decide what do you want your day to look like. So if you think, okay, I'm going to work 9 to 5, for example, and then I'm going to spend the evening with my family, I'm going to work 9 to 3 and then have that time with my kids. You decide, but it's up to you to stick to that, and it's up to you to communicate that with your loved ones. So my children, got 3 children, and when they were younger, that shift was quite difficult for me to say, Mummy's actually working just now. As soon as I'm finished, I will be with you and I can give you my undivided attention. Okay? To start with, that is not easy. You feel guilty. You worry about your child, like, oh no, like, you know, or your loved one, you know, that they're not getting enough of you. But actually, in the long run, it works out for the better, because you're feeling focused at work and you're feeling focused on your loved ones. But it's about boundaries. And you deciding how you want that day to look like and following through. It's not easy, and it's a practice, as is mindfulness, as is scheduling, as in all these things. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and the more others will respect your boundaries. And then the time you have with your family and loved ones is incredible, because you're solely with them. You're not checking your phone and I'll just be back in 5 minutes, which ends up being 2 hours. You know, I've been there. So boundaries are back to boundaries. Like, yeah, are key with that. Does that answer that question? You can let me know.
Yeah. Somebody else has said, I've always been a terrible sleeper. As soon as my head hits the pillow, my mind goes 10 to the dozen. Are there any good exercises to switch off? Maybe the breathing exercise would be good.
Yeah, so things like listening to meditations, things such as like a guided body scan can be good. So you're focusing, you can Google that, or I've got one on YouTube. You can have a look at my YouTube page. There's one there that I've done, or
and is that Spirit and Soul?
Yeah, I'm just thinking as well, there's an app that I'm on called Insight Timer. Can maybe pop it out to people. INSIGHT Timer. And if you type Susi McWilliam there, you'll have a guided body scan meditation from me there. And it's a really nice way to just release some of that stress, to bring awareness to the different parts of the body, release that stress. I would also add, and I do this with my coaching clients and meditation clients, doing a gratitude exercise at the end of the day.
Okay.
So that's having a journal or notebook or a piece of paper at the side of your bed and writing 3 things that you're grateful for that have happened that day. So really bringing your awareness into that present moment, putting your mind into that positive mindset, because often we can get to the end of the day and feel that we haven't achieved much, or, you know, it's been a rubbish day. And actually, when we look back, there probably was points throughout that day, and it could have just been as simple as having a nice cup of tea, or eating a scone. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
I find that I've tried to do that as well, and sometimes at the end of the day I've gone, I can't think of anything. But I remember speaking to a client, and she was doing it on a regular basis because she was going through it, and she said to me, I write down things like, I had a great peach today. And I went, do you? And she said, yeah, because I was really grateful. It was nice and juicy.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be, you know, huge, monumental, life-changing things, but what it's doing is it's building these positive neural pathways in your brain. So you're building on all these positive experiences, regardless of maybe how insignificant it seems at the time. It's actually really important to acknowledge the positives in your day. So if your mind is racing, one, schedule, maybe write down your 3 to 6 tasks that you need to do the next day, so that you're aware before you go to sleep, okay, that's what I'm focusing on. And then move into a nighttime routine, a meditation, a bath, breathing, you know, 3 things you're grateful for, that type of thing. And make sure that when you're going to bed, you're not watching, some kind of murder documentary, or like,
Yeah.
people do, I've got so many clients that do that, and, but, make sure that it's something that's going to be supportive and nourishing for your mind. So you're not going to bed already adrenaline fueled, after a Netflix box set or whatever.
Sounds good. Someone else has said, how do you deal positively with things that are out of your control?
Okay, so this has taken a lot of time as well. I used to be a complete control freak. I used to have OCD, and I really struggled with that. Meditation and mindfulness are really key to recognizing what is within your control and what's not within your control. And doing some form of meditation helps build that acceptance. If we know that things are out with our control, it comes down to acceptance. It's recognizing, okay, actually, I can't control that, but what I can do is control my reaction to it. So rather than blow up completely, for example, as soon as, we had to close down our wellbeing center during this period, and, in theory, like, my business had pretty much just like stopped overnight. None of that was within my control, but what was within my control was my ability to adapt to that. So I'm like, okay, so what can I do about that? Taking a step back, do some breathing, put yourself into space. If there's nothing you can do, then it comes to acceptance. If there's something you can do, just take that one small step to support yourself. I don't know if anyone wants to give an example of something, and I can do that. But for example, terminal illness. My mum was diagnosed with terminal cancer. That was something that was completely out of the blue and out with our control as a family. But what I could do was, my response to that, I didn't, kind of completely melt and break down and, get sucked down that cycle. It's like, okay, what can I do to support myself? What can I do to support my mum during this period? It's not the same thing. None of these things, all of these things sound so simple, make sure you sleep, make sure you eat well, make sure, and I'm fully aware they're not, but they're so necessary.
Yeah.
It's the simple things. And that's why people tend to get to that emotional level of stress before they do something, because they're not actioning the stuff before, because it's a bit harder.
Yeah. And we tend to be, well, I don't know, but I tend to sort of think of everybody else and you're last in line, aren't you? You think about yourself last. You think about, I've got all this to do for the family, I've got all this to do for the clients, I've got all this to do for blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of the day, you think, well, what have you done for you? You have to start making you a priority too.
Yeah, self-care, especially at this point in time, is essential. And if that self-care is just switching off your phone and getting to your bed at a decent time, that is self-care, or taking yourself for a walk, or taking some time off work. All these things are necessary to allow your body to reduce the inflammation in your body, to shift yourself from that fight or flight. Because, as I say, I learned that the hard way. Without doing that, then you can't do any of the other things. You can't be there for your family. And I learned that. But what I also learned through that was that actually they managed.
Yes.
So whilst I was bedridden, they still managed to eat, and they managed to wash their clothes and get to school.
Yeah.
So I wasn't kind of as invaluable as I thought I was, but putting ourselves and making ourselves a priority really, really is so important. To kind of reduce that inflammation and boost our immunity as well.
Yeah. Well, that's really good. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you, it's easy enough to find you, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty much everywhere. You can find me. I'm on Facebook at Susi McWilliam, Spirit and Soul. You'll find me via Susan's links here on LinkedIn. Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. I think I'm pretty much everywhere. But yeah, my website's www.spiritandsoul.me, and you can find a bit about what I do there. But if anybody wants to drop me an email or has any other questions, I'm more than happy to do that and answer that as well.
That's great. And we've been recording this, so it will go on YouTube. So if you haven't managed to stay, or if you haven't managed to catch up on it, you'll be able to catch up on it on YouTube.
Brilliant.
So thank you very much, Susie. That was really good.
No, thank you for having me.
Reiterated everything that I kind of knew anyway. I think we all kind of know what we should be doing. It's just actually putting it into practice, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, and a lot of my coaching work is doing exactly that. You know, it's the same as, you know, personal trainers. We know we should eat well and we know we should work out. We know we should think, but sometimes we need somebody else to tell us and hold our hand through that process and just support us, or somebody who's been through that process themselves, so they know that it's possible. You know, and we just, I think lockdown or this period has almost been really beneficial in that way, because it's pulled a lot of people back to basics.
Yes. It's made people realise what's important, I think.
Yeah, and how out of balance and alignment many people's work-life balance maybe was before.
Yeah. I was out earlier on today, and the amount of people that you see running out, it's sort of like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning, and I was watching them. I wasn't running, but I was sort of walking along, and I was watching them thinking, how many of them are going to be able to carry that on once we all get back to, you know, work and working the hours that we were working before? I don't know.
It's that strength and, you know, scheduling it. So when you're scheduling it, make sure you schedule. I say this all the time to people, but, you know, make sure you're scheduling those things you love. So if you love running, make sure that is part of your weekly schedule, that it's in, because it won't happen. As you say, life will kick in again, and, you know, we'll get carried on this cycle. So, you know, put it in your diary, put it in your calendar, that's what happens at that time each day or each week or month or whatever, so that these things become habitual, rather than getting sucked into the way it was before, for sure.
And hopefully we'll have learned something from the lockdown. Hope so, anyway. Some positives, not all negatives.
No, I think there's so many positives to come from this. People being more self-sufficient, you know, for a lot of people getting more time with their children, although the juggle is difficult. You know, that's, you know, an amazing opportunity as well. And getting outside, exercise. We've been spoiled in Scotland with the weather. We've been so lucky.
It's been fantastic, hasn't it? It's been really good. It's like, I actually started to think, I wonder if it's because, you know, climate change, there hasn't been all the cars and things, that suddenly the sun's been shining. I don't think that's totally true, but it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Whether there is something else going on, that suddenly it's been glorious weather.
Absolutely. No, it's been great. Getting out, doing some gardening, lots of people planting and getting their hands in the earth.
Well, thank you very much for spending some time with us. And I'll remember to take some time out and breathe.
Good. Set that reminder on your phone.
Yes. Thanks, Susie. Thanks, everybody else, for joining. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.